Now, it's been an extraordinary week for Roman Catholic education in Canada. First, grade 12 student Christopher Karras took his school, École Secondaire Catholique Sainte-Famille, sorry about that, to the Ontario Human Rights Commission over what he claims are the institution's rampant, prolonged homophobic behaviour. More of that later. He alleges that teachers failed to deal with anti-gay discrimination by other students, themselves made disparaging remarks about gay people, and that students were required to read a book containing homophobic violence without any condemnation, context or explanation given by the teachers. The school is not responding directly, but there could be a backstory. I don't know. Karras first became known when he was told he couldn't put up posters in the school quoting gay activist Harvey Milk's statement that, quote, all young people, regardless of sexual orientation or identity, deserve a safe and supportive environment in which to achieve their full potential. It seems entirely sensible and inoffensive to me that Karras claims he was told to replace sexual orientation with self-expression. Well, more of that later. We have him here, but this is another issue now. The Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association, OECTA, announced that it would march in Toronto's World Pride Parade in June. They've marched a little bit in the past, but this is a biggie. They passed a motion at last weekend's AGM to send a delegation to the event. The union represents about 45,000 Catholic teachers, and while some, or I don't know, many might disagree with the decision, this will be seen as an official endorsement of the Pride Parade by teachers who are supposed, at least, to observe Catholic beliefs. Frankly, I don't know if Christopher Karras' story is authentic, although there surely must be elements of truth in this. I do believe, however, that human rights commissions are deeply flawed, often subjective, and severely inappropriate as a venue for students and teachers to resolve disagreements. I do know quite a bit, though, about OECTA, and I can assure you that the vast majority of Catholic teachers are Catholic in name only. They may be good teachers, good people, but they're not really good Catholics, most of them. Now, having said that, I wonder if they are all good teachers. Here's OECTA Vice President Chris Kohuanga speaking to striking Porter airline workers and donating $30,000 to them because, you see, Catholic teachers and Catholic students have to be involved in an airport workers' strike, don't they?
Brothers and sisters, the Catholic teachers also join you in sending a very clear message that this type of corporate behavior is unacceptable. And we are here to show you that we recognize that this battle is not
it's not yours alone.
It's not yours alone. It's not just for the workers' struggle alone. It's a collective struggle.
Brilliant. Look, I predicted long ago that either an OECTA delegation would march at Pride or that a Catholic Gay Straight Alliance float would be seen in the parade. I said this would happen, but what happens next? Pluralism is as messy as it is magnificent. Coexistence is as creaking as it is clumsy, but it's still marvelous. Sometimes living in modern liberal democracies produces conundrums that just can't be resolved. My exclusive truth cannot accommodate your exclusive disagreement. Let's be candid here. Until and unless Catholic teaching regarding homosexuality changes, the Catechism calls for tolerance and respect for gay people, but also describes their sexuality as, quote, a grave depravity and being intrinsically disordered. No gay student can feel genuinely comfortable in a Catholic school. Yet every student, gay or straight, should feel welcomed in a school that receives any form of public funding. Here's a Catholic apologist discussing the church and homosexuality.
Well, love sometimes needs to be tough. And you may think, well, that's nice, but isn't the church being unfair and telling these people how they can live and how they can act? Well, I think the gay agenda that's out there today, I think puts these people in a very difficult situation. Because they tell them, look, you only have two options. You can either hide in the closet out of fear that if you ever came out and exposed your true identity, that people would hate you. Or you can come out of the closet, embrace your identity as a homosexual person, and then do whatever you want and make up your own morality. Those are your two options. The Catholic Church think that that's a bit narrow-minded. In fact, the Catholic Church would extend a third option, that you can acknowledge that you do have same-sex attractions, and you can tell your family members or whoever it is you care to disclose that information to, but to realize that your other option isn't just to come out and make up your own rules with sexuality, but you can actually lead a pure life with the grace of God.
So, be celibate or lonely for the rest of your life? It needs to be discussed, doesn't it? We love you, but you have to be celibate. Not sure if this will find acceptance in public education or in public life. So the solution is painful, but surely inevitable. End the ersatz Catholic system, create a public alternative, liberate and return tax dollars so that Catholic parents can, if they choose, send their children to alternative Catholic schools, and give choice to every student and every parent. Catholics have a right to be Catholic. Gays have a right to be gay. Canadians have a right to be secure, happy, educated, and self-fulfilled. It's impossible to satisfy every person and every demand, but we can do a lot better than we're doing right now. And as promised, we have the young man at the center of this and his lawyer. Christopher Carras joins us now. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
And I mean, how old are you? 12 years old?
I'm 18.
You're 18, I know. So we have your lawyer with you, Jean-Alexandre de Busquet.
De Busquet.
Not bad.
Thank you.
I'm an Anglo. Give me a break. And it's fine with you being here because you're a young man, and I understand. We won't even ask you anything, but it's good for you to be here. Now, what I said in the monologue was, I've never met you before. I don't know the school. I know the English Catholic system. What you've said, I can only assume to be true. But I mean, is it all true? I mean, you paint a picture of a school that seems to have little empathy, little sympathy with you for being a gay young man who's a Catholic. Surely they're not that bad.
I have no reason to lie. This is definitely true, and there's a homophobic culture within my school and within my school board, because I've gone to this school board since I ever started education, and it's been a reoccurring problem.
The book, for example, that was taught. Now, books can be taught that may depict racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia. That's absolutely fine, as long as the teacher provides the context, explains what is right and wrong. You're saying there was no context here?
There was no context until I actually spoke to the administration, and I had a very heated conversation, but after our heated conversation, finally, they did have my teacher talk about it. But even then, the teacher hadn't been trained how to talk about it, so he felt that he had to mention gay at every moment possible within the day. There was no real reason why he had to do that. He just had to explain the context.
It's not actually about sexuality, it's about English, or French in your case. It's about language. I mean, when we teach Merchant of Venice, for example, you don't have to mention Jewish history throughout the play, but there's a certain time to talk about Shylock and the period and the ghetto and oppression. Okay, now again, the school is not responding to anything. So if people are saying, well, what about the other side? We can't really get the other side. You wanted to put up a poster with a quotation from Harvey Milk, which does seem to be quite innocuous. They objected to that?
They wanted to be changed. They actually wanted the quote to be edited and replace sexuality with self-expression. And they believed that sexual orientation, which we all have, and identity was controversial. And they ripped them down. And so I really don't agree with what they have to say about the posters.
So we'll get to the Human Rights Commissions later. What do you want to change right now? I mean, you can't change the attitudes of young people. I find actually that young people, but I'll be completely candid with you. And I have 4 children, I've seen loads of kids. They use the word fag. Yeah. But their attitudes towards gay people, generally, are extremely progressive and positive. And it's a strange dichotomy. That word is still used. There's no use denying it. It is still used. But they'd be very defensive of you and any other gay people. I'm surprised that your peers, the other students, were not supportive of you.
Well, you can't always get everyone on board. And unfortunately, there's some people that are very religious and believe in the teachings of the Bible and like to resort to referencing it.
The Bible, the central aspect in the New Testament is love, surely.
Well, the problem is that they're referencing the Bible and they're not taking core to the values of the Catholic Church, which is love, respect, and acceptance. And they don't seem to understand that.
So, and I can probably predict the scriptures they would quote. They would quote Romans 1, they'd quote parts of the Old Testament, the story of Sodom, which is, I think, rather misunderstood. But is there not a religion teacher or someone in authority to say, yes, that there's a place for this, but also you have to understand the greater context of non-judgmentalism, of mercy, of forgiveness, of respect, and even the catechism. I quoted some of it, and some of the language is harsh, but it also, within that, calls for love and respect of the individual.
That hasn't seemed to be a part of the culture at the school. And actually, I learned recently that the teachers were informed that the only way they could speak about sexuality was if a student actually asked them. They weren't allowed to speak about sexuality unless they had a student speak to them.
It doesn't sound like the English Catholic schools I know. The reality of English Catholic education in Ontario, it varies, but for the most part, it's not particularly Catholic. The complaints are from more conservative Catholics who say there's not enough of church teaching. It's all very liberal and touchy-feely, and you wouldn't even know it was a Catholic school.
I know that the English Catholic school system has also had some issues with board members and so on. Same thing with my board as well. We have people on the board that are in same-sex relationships, and yet we have this homophobic culture within the board.
Can your demands be reconciled with the teachings of the Catholic Church? I mean, many watching right now would say, well, okay, if that's the truth, fine, just go to a public school.
Well, the thing is, my parents actually chose for me to go to a Catholic school. And I've been taught within the Catholic religion since I was born. I was baptized, I've confirmed, and I think that I have a right to be in the school just as anyone else. And I've made relationships, friendships, I know the teachers. It's just not fair to have me switch schools. There's no reason why I should have to leave.
Human rights commissions, they're not the favorites of this network, and well, forget the network. I'm not a great fan. I have seen them be I think, subjective, lacking in balance. To take your school to a human rights commission, is that really the way to handle this?
I had to resort to it, unfortunately, because when I had made the demand in March 2012 to have a group under the Accepting Schools Act, I had to wait 1 year and 8 months to put it in place. And once it was put in place, I still had obstacles, and they even broke the law in several cases, and yet there was no penalty for them.
This is a gay-straight alliance or an alternative?
Yes.
Yeah. But you have it now?
Yes.
Right.
And I've only had one meeting since we've opened, I guess, our doors, you could say.
I guarantee a couple of things. One, I will get a lot of emails tonight after this interview. And many people I know will say, you should have been much harder with him. I think I want to allow you to speak. If the school want to send someone on here to speak their mind, the chair is there for them. I can only offer that. I can't do any more. It's a fascinating subject. And even beyond you, beyond the Catholic system, we have to understand, we have to empathize, and we have to build some sort of coexistence. Otherwise, we're going nowhere quickly. Thank you very much. And thank you to you as well.